Alright, did I finally get it? One, two, three, four.
Like the Catholicism representative or like organized religion representative, and it made Septimont feel significantly older and more ancient, while Raguna felt more modern. And Septimont, at first, I'm gonna be completely honest, logically, it was a bit of a shocker for me because Wuwa is thematically more sci-fi than fantasy, set in a post-apocalyptic future. So to be thrown into Septimont, which is modeled after ancient Rome but then still coexist with advanced technology, it felt a bit anachronistic. But you know what? That's all right. I ran with it. They're city-states separated by large bodies of water, so Septimont is probably relatively isolated and wanted to stick to long cultural traditions. And that being said, it was a fun exploration overall of mythological and literary references. Let's
Alright, so let's check the mic so that when I start crying from losing 50-50, the audio sounds okay. While I listen to Civi talk about Wua, a game which I quit because the characters are boring, the world is boring, the story is boring, and the combat is whatever. It's not special, it's not bad, it's just whatever. Not enough to keep my interest.
move on to the plot. Like the meat and potatoes of it, which most of you are probably here to actually hear about the actual story itself, or rather my thoughts on it. Now, I'm not going to try and summarize everything because that would take forever, but I will tell you what I liked. And didn't like, what I thought were strong points, weaker points, and points for improvement, and this pattern that I saw emerging that I wasn't really a fan of. Let's start from the beginning, 2.0. I'm gonna be completely transparent. In the first few acts, I felt like I didn't entirely know what was going on. Like, I understood who were the protagonists, who were the antagonists, the tensions between the houses, the Montellis having conflicts with the Order, the Carnival coming out, and that there was a cover-up about the truth of the Sentinel and the Blessed Maiden. There was also the fact that Cristoforo was being a huge bitch, but like a bad bitch. Like that guy was serving the entire time. He made a fabulous villain. But I think that since in the first two acts we were kind of jumping from place to place, event to event, person to person, or rather side character to side character, it felt like I was being given a lot of information, but the cohesion wasn't super strong. It was like laying down the foundation of the story, but in doing so, I was only being given like the first row of a jigsaw puzzle, and then it didn't really look like anything yet because I didn't know like what the shape of the entire picture would be yet. And honestly, that could just be a me problem, that could be skill issue. But that being said, the start of Renacita from 2.0 to 2.2 were the parts of the main quest that felt the most like main quests to me, because sometime after that, each act ended up almost laser focused on singular characters at a time, the banner characters. Now, 2.0 and 2.2 did a fabulous job of juggling an ensemble of characters. So in 2.0, we come into it with Zani, Carlotta, Phoebe, Brant, Rochia. And despite no Cantarella yet, we got a lot of talk and foreshadowing about the Physalia family. And it felt like we were going through a main quest plot while these characters were helping us get from point A to point B, while getting to know them a little bit at a time. During this time, we don't get sucked too deeply into any one character's personal traumas or histories or backgrounds, and those could be explored in their companion quests if I so chose, but because I was binging the main quest, I didn't choose to do so at the time. I personally would be interested in Carlotta, Brant, and Phoebe because I really like the characters, or rather I think there's more behind them that I want to find out about. I'm curious, but I'm glad that the main quest didn't become all about them. Which, spoiler, I can't say the same for the tail end of the 2.x quests. 2.2 still did an okay job of using Cantarella alongside Cartathea, and even had an introduction to Chacona at the start as well. And I would have liked it if some of the 2.0 characters had popped up more in 2.2, but I thought, well, they're probably trying to expand the cast further, so it's okay if we don't really see them for a while. We're just trying to get everyone in the picture for now. But having finished everything now, I really wish some 2.0 characters had made more appearances. Anyway, 2.2 did start leaning into companion quest vibe territory for me with regards to Cartathea, but I kind of rationalized it as, well, this is what 2.0 is leading up to anyway. I mean, Blessed Maiden, Cartathea, she shows up at the end. I'm sure that that's like being an intro or transition into the next act, and obviously the next major act is going to be all about her. And Cartathea is basically Jesus, and will probably end up as the central character of the entire Renacita arc anyway, so I gave it a pass. But yeah, everything past that point just started going into that certain direction that I wasn't too hot about, and I'm sure you've heard that opinion from other players too. Now, before I get into 2.4, I'd just like to say that I really liked the 2.3 quest with Chacona. It's technically not a main quest, so I'm not going to lump it into the same category of quests and make it bear the same weight of my criticisms, but I really liked what Chacona stood for in that quest, because when it comes to revealing truths and people rebelling against the status quo, it's easy to forget the role that artists have here. Media censorship is one of the big signs of an authoritarian regime, and that doesn't just mean news and journalism. That also means writers, artists, and musicians too. Art is expression, and that gives people power and voices. So I saw Chacona as a representation of that, and I was glad that Wuwa wrote that in. Moving on to 2.4, Wuthering Waves decided to remove companion quests around that time, and it showed. Because starting from here, every main quest practically revolved around one main playable character. Again, that was the banner character. I'm not going to come out here and say that the quests were done terribly. You can watch my reactions to them and you will clearly see my enjoyment. And even until now, I think that that was like some of the funnest, like best paced storytelling in a gacha game that I've felt in a while. And I won't deny that each quest was gorgeous cinematically. They had banger lines. The pacing was great. Every moment felt like it was running towards something. It felt like there were stakes. And I wanted to see how each act ended because it felt important. Sometimes it felt monumental even. And at first, Lupa's presence in 2.4 was pretty refreshing because she's a very upbeat character. She's a sharp contrast to sly Carlotta, initially timid Cartathea still finding her courage, and then there's seductive Cantarella. 2.4 was also led by Cartathea. Like, you know, she was also kind of running the show behind the scenes, so to be fair, it wasn't all Lupa-centric. And the reveals about Mia and the Threnodian and the appearance of Augusta and Yuno, for the first time, kind of softened up the companion quest energy of it all. The drama was great. When they were there in the Colosseum, Lupa was trying to reveal the thing about the Silvas. Like, I was sitting there, I was like, I wish I had popcorn, but chips will have to do for now, because I was like, oh my god, it was so good. It was so fun. That's just a testament to how much I enjoyed that quest, despite seeing that, oh, it's going into a certain direction. But then, after that, Lupa kind of disappears until 2.7. She doesn't even show up in 2.6, which is kind of disappointing because we spent the entirety of 2.6 in Septimod, but we'll come back to that. Now, 2.5. That was very much a Frolova quest. I already discussed my feelings about 2.5 in that video dedicated to it, and mostly positive, to be honest. Mostly positive, even though this one was glaringly companion quest energy. But here's the thing. It felt a bit deserved because we've known Frolova since before Renacita. And that being said, maybe it's time to learn more about her and explore her past. And what made it even more interesting is that Rover already knows how she feels about Frolova. Frolova isn't a stranger to her. Rover hates her guts. So this didn't have the rosy, gentle approach that we end up seeing in the most recent quests. 2.5 really switched it up, and for the better. So having had that prior history with Frolova, it didn't make 2.5 feel forced or feel out of the blue. Like, the time we spent with her, it actually felt compelling. Oh, I do want to learn about this character because I've been curious about her for a long time now. It's about time we got some new info about her. So that's kind of a big reason why 2.5, even if it felt like a companion quest in a lot of regards, I didn't mind it as much. Now 2.6 is where it starts to get a little wobbly, and where I started getting a little more specific about what exactly about the companion quest energy wasn't doing it for me. And it was during this time that I realized that my problem isn't actually the companion quest energy. It's when the quest feels too intimate without the intimacy being earned. So let me explain. I think we can all agree that 2.6 Part 1 main quest was for Augusta, and then Part 2 was for Yuno. Despite the relative slowness of Murmur's Town, I liked Augusta's half. I really did, because it felt like we were exploring her history, getting to know her as a character, plus her strengths, weaknesses, what she had to overcome, etc. And it focused on her not her relationship with Rover. Rover helped Augusta defeat the big bad at the end of the act, but it's not like she was suddenly Augusta's trusted #1 confidant in the world. Yuno's half, in contrast, had to use Rover as her anchor to recover her existence. Rover was literally her anchor. It was a lot about how the two of them were connected enough to help manifest Yuno back into the world. So it was a lot of spotlighting soft, intimate, pretty flirty moments between the two. Plus, of course, hand-holding. Now you can chalk it up to that just being Yuno's personality, but I feel like the most interesting part about Yuno's act anyway was when she was giving prophecies to those individuals.
I don't get what
how they
Civi's
ended up
issue is.
encountering those.
It's the biggest writing problem, but she basically says she loves everything except for very small parts. And then this Yuna story quest, which all happened all the way at 2.26. And then before that, she was like, I don't really care for Lupa, that Lupa disappeared until 2.7. She basically glazed everything for the most part, like, which is how she's basically done the story, as she said. You could look at her videos, she loved everything. So it's kind of fascinating that she decides to make a dedicated video. For what seems, it took how long to get to this point? Almost half the video. I hope there's more than just the Lupa story. I expect Linnea's story to also be an issue for her.
Destinies, along with the frustration that Yuno felt it added all. So I actually did like Yuno's conflict. Internal conflicts as a character, but I just felt like the quest kind of pushed like the whole Yuno Rover dynamic a little too hard. There was actually a lot of substance to Yuno's history and her character, but then the fan service just ended up overshadowing it a lot of times. So personally, if I were to choose someone to be Yuno's anchor, I'd think of someone based on how well they know her, and the person that comes to mind is Augusta. Not Rover. Like, have you seen Augusta and Yuno's dynamic? I love it. They know each other so well. They trust each other so well. They have each other's back all the time. And there was even that scene, I watched them banter as they were like sitting on the deck looking out at the sunset. I watched it and I was like, oh my god, these two are they're very close. So, I just think that if we were going to go with organic relationships, I feel like Augusta should have had like a larger role in re-manifesting Yuno back into the world, but because of main character things and because Rover is Rover, Rover has to be the anchor, exception to the rules of the world. Of course, Rover is the one who remembers, yada yada, and all that happened. The main point here is that Yuno's relationship with Rover didn't feel organic, not like it did with Frolova or even Cartithia, which grew over a few versions.
I don't know, it's definitely attractive.
We didn't have much interactions with Yuno in 2.4.
She's like, what, Mona?
And then it's like all of a sudden in 2.6 we're her.
Blue hair and ponytails.
And if we had instead spent a substantial amount of time with Yuno in 2.4 and even more so in 2.6, then our development leading up to her half would have felt more earned and more believable. But in my opinion, that wasn't the case. So let's move on to 2.7. Now, when I started bringing up these issues that I just mentioned about 2.6, I had chatters saying that, well, 2.7 was also kind of a Galbrenna companion quest. And you know what? It kind of was. 70% of it was her aura farming. Not that I really minded her aura farming because she's really badass. But as I just mentioned, it turns out that my main problem isn't even the companion quest energy or the screen time. It's when you get intimate moments with a character that just don't feel earned. So I do wish that Galbrenna had actually been foreshadowed sooner. Like, you do get Augusta saying in her part of the 2.6 quest, what did you do to Angel? But I think something a bit more heavy-handed, like meeting Galbrenna briefly at some crossroads or something, would have been a great addition, in my opinion, instead of just showing her at the end. It would have made Galbrenna's appearance in 2.7 feel less abrupt, like, here's the banner character, she's in the story now. And instead it would have been more like, oh, we get to learn more about that hot character we met a while ago, and ooh, she's actually important to the story. Actually, also a side note, I got spoiled about the Galbrenna Angel reveal before I started playing 2.7 because one day I just googled Galbrenna to pull up a photo of her to advertise my stream, and then I saw out of the corner of my eye the WoWa fandom wiki blurb saying, Galbrenna, a being once called Angel, or something like that, and I was like, Oh, okay. Anyway, maybe it's because I like women who aura farm, or maybe Galbrenna didn't feel too fan servicey towards Rover by contrast, but I kind of got similar energy from this as Augusta's quest in regards to the treatment of Galbrenna. I even like the fact that Ternodian and Grand Architect turned their attention towards Galbrenna instead of Rover, because I personally think that the key players of Septimon's and Renacita's hero stories should be their own characters, not an outsider like Rover. And like, let Angel get her revenge for what happened to her as a child, of course, I'm all here for it. It did kind of drag a bit when Chimera was like narrating the trauma that Angel went through. As much as I loved Chimera's voice acting, there was a little like dragging there. And then that companion quest energy segment did feel like it was bloating the main quest arc, so honestly, it still had some issues personally for me. But, you know, it was kind of also used to introduce us to Paradise and even further illustrate the manipulation of Leviathan through Nodian. More about Chimera. It could have just been told a bit more concisely, and I probably wouldn't have felt as much about that portion. But outside of that entire discourse, I just have to say that 2.7 was superbly cinematic. It was nice to see the entire cast finally come back, even though I feel like they should have been sprinkled in more throughout the Renacita acts frequently. Like, just appear in the background, just come in with like a status report. Like, they were doing that throughout 2.7, but you know, 2.4 would have been nice to hear Brant's voice. Paradise was, again, visually stunning. The music was really cool. Lots of interesting biblical references, Dante's Inferno references. The music hit really. The cinematic scenes were just epic. And again, Cristoforo is very chef's kiss as a villain. I love that guy. I love to hate that guy. And it was also cool to see the Grand Architect, even though he spoke at like 0.25 speed. The entire thing was just really hype overall. It was super enjoyable. I loved that experience of playing through it. It felt like it was a great marathon. And I also played through the Segway act with Qingyuan. Can I just say, it's kind of crazy to me that we get like a 2-hour companion quest energy act with Yuno, and then with Qingyuan, his Segway act is only 40 minutes. Like, where's my 2 hours of Qingyuan Oro farm? It was great too. Like, there weren't any unnecessarily intimate moments between Rover and Qingyuan. Not that I would complain, because I'm so starved of men in wuthering waves. I'm only half joking. But he also dropped a bunch of info about Mingting, its government, its political atmosphere, and Jeshu Lin even made a cameo in there. Like, honestly, it was pretty packed for a segue in terms of lore relevance. And it was pretty concise in its execution, which I can appreciate. So, finally, let's move on to 2.8. In a nutshell, the issues I had with the Yuno act resurfaced with Chisa. I can appreciate a good slice of life, and Honami was really pretty. Sumika was a really cool character, even if we barely met her. Chisa was also really pretty. You know, she's a cool character, and I can see why she's popular. She has a tragic past that explicitly reveals discrimination against resonators in her hometown. And Namipon, despite being kind of a drag, was cute enough at times. But again, we meet someone, and within 10 minutes, we're trusting each other with our lives. Now, I get that it's a dire situation, and okay, in-game time passes differently, but like, she's trusting us with her deepest secrets, and it's just instantly soft and rosy and intimate and shiny. And my point is, it just didn't feel earned. It could have been a matter of hours or whatever, but it's like, I just met you. I'm not attached to you yet. And more than that, it started feeling like we had to learn all there is to know about a character within a single act or version, which just made it feel even more rushed and unearned. I keep going back to Frolova's act because at that point, again, we'd known her for a while already, so our feelings toward her were well developed, and the impact she has on us is also much more significant, as it should be. So to be fair, I think that the characters they choose to make each quest revolve around, they're written well enough to serve a substantial narrative purpose. They're interesting characters, they're cool, and they are able to tell us more about the world. They're able to give us lore drops. We learn more about where they came from, and that's relevant to our experience
Okay, I'm
as
slow.
Rover. They're interesting in the banner. Now, I think that she could have just helped us get to know Star Torch Academy as a student. She could have been our companion guide, introduced us to more characters, and still been this sort of mysterious troublemaker that gets involved in incidents, and we're still kind of trying to figure out why. You know, we can spend the entire time figuring out why someone can die and it turns into a whodunit, and honestly, that's kind of fun. And then we're like, no, there's no way Linnea's at the center of this, right? And then it turns out she is, but we don't find that out right away. We find that out in the next act or in the next version. You know, just drop some hints that she's hiding stuff, but then don't bring about the reveal so soon. Let's wait till the next act or till the next version, and then the reveal becomes more impactful. Because at that point, she's been with us for longer, she's gotten to know us better, and she really knows that she can trust us. At least more than she could after a day of just meeting us, you know? I don't know, I just think that WoA can trust players to be in it for the long run, even just for the story, because they actually have some really good things going on here. So personally, I think it's okay to have some character arcs take longer to develop. Just not too long, I guess, but, you know, longer than a single act, longer than a single version. Not to mention bringing back old characters more frequently into the later acts, even if they're not on the banner. Now, I know that this video ended up being more about like overarching criticism that started showing itself more and more throughout the recent patches, more so than me critiquing the Rina Sita story bar for bar. I know, but that's really just because I enjoyed the Rina Sita binge through so much, and after each act, I literally did talk about some of my thoughts in those streams. That some of them stayed in the highlights, some of them are in the VODs, and honestly, I talk about it pretty frequently on stream too if you ever drop by. It just really felt like peak cinema as I played it. And you know, the dust did settle a bit, so I got to stew in my own thoughts and like try to consolidate them a bit more, be a bit more digestible. But after playing 3.0, it kind of solidified my criticisms of late 2.x, so that's why I kind of wanted to bring this video out now at this time, and why it also kind of covers my feelings about 3.0 kind of briefly. So I guess if there are any specific things you'd like to know my opinion on, you can drop them in the comments or come by my streams on twitch.tv/sevi_plays. Again, I have my playthrough highlights on this channel and my playthrough VODs on the other channel, and at the ends of them you can hear some of my fresh playthrough thoughts. But that's all here and there. I hope you guys are having a happy new year. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the overarching Rina Sita 2.x, the entire thing, or you can get specific, no worries. I would just love to hear about it because I wasn't really, you know, on time with all the hype as it was happening. I'm on time now, but give me your thoughts down below. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel for more, and I will see you soon. Take care.
Yeah, I pretty much glazed the fuck out of it, so I don't really understand the point of her issues.
Welcome back, Trailblazers! This is episode 7 of our Honkai Star Rail Amphorius journey, and boy do we have a lot to cover this time around. In this patch, we finally got to learn the true origins of Merchant Irene, the identity of Evernight, and we even got to meet Terravox for the first time while helping Don Hung reconcile his grievances with his past life, all while making some good headway in saving Amphorius and launching a proper defense against Iron.
Yeah, that's not for me. I need something more concise.
Deception. One of the aspects of Amphorius that has left us on the edge of our...
Okay, not for me as well. I need just a small summary what the fuck Evernight is.
Many among you, myself included, have been clamoring for a March glow up for some time now. A 5-star version
Oh man, it's actually kind of a place I could go to.
Deception. One of the aspects, and no one could interact with her, let alone see her. But one person. The one person she knew was bad news. The caveman himself. So she ran from him for the full 97 days until she was cornered with no options remaining. And this is where Evernight shows up and offers her aid on seemingly grievous terms, to which March, again with no other option, reluctantly agrees to. And in an instant, the Evernight we know has manifested for the first time. And she wasted no time, because right upon her awakening, she hid her presence from Lygus, flooded the entirety of Amphorius with Memoria, and hijacked Data into becoming her Memo Sprites. So she now has imperceptible eyes and ears in every corner of the world, and let me tell you, she is everything I said a person with a true mastery of remembrance power would be in Amphorius, a place created out of memories and Memoria. Oh yeah, she was in control at that point, and she made it our problem, and laid low until it was the proper time to make her move. And little did we know, it was here, because we thought this was the core flame of world bearing that Cyrene sent for us. But just as a Trailblazer was going to place the core flame into the vortex, they remembered something. There was no time demigod this cycle, and here is where Evernight made her move and confirmed that this was in fact the case. And she herself was lighting up the core flame with some sort of illusion this entire time. Why? Well, simply put, she's got her own plans for how this world should be, and this plan is that this world shouldn't be, and that everything and everyone should just be erased, with the only exception being us and Dan Heng, because March cares about us. But this wouldn't be an Evernight interaction if she didn't lie, because after asking her where March was, she replies that March is no more, and her actions were on account of March's dying wish, something we know for a fact that March would never want. And with that, she makes us sink into the Sea of Oblivion and become her guest in this farcical dream. And here is where we should have confirmed that she was Enigmata, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here, that's not confirmed yet, so let's continue. Because after wandering around this really creepy dream, we get saved by Cyrene, who helps us retreat into our memories. Which memory? Well, the most suppressed one, of course. The memory of the very beginning of the game, revealing what Kafka said to us too in real life years ago. But that deserves its own video, so I'll move on, because when we are done listening, Cyrene has been detained by Evernight's army of Memo Sprites and has left us to wander the halls of our own minds until we get cornered ourselves, and Sunday cuts in, assisted by Herta, combining the erudition and harmony's powers once again, attempting to save us from this dream that we are still in.
Interesting.
Only for Evernight to show up herself and absolutely embarrass him to the point of where Herta had to save him before he got stuck too. And just like that, we are pulled even further into Oblivion. However, this was only phase 1. Sunday was a rescue attempt, but also a diversion, and on the back end, this was phase 2. Black Swan had infiltrated the Aeon Observatory to see that Evernight had already soloed the entirety of the Memo Snatcher's forces. And I didn't even think this was possible, but she somehow pulled the consciousness out of a Memo Keeper's body. Okay, I need for you to understand what this means. Memetic entities of the Remembrance cast away their physical bodies to become memories. They have no real form and just take the form that they choose to take. So when we see that Evernight has rendered this vessel empty, she took a soul out of a soul. Do you know how insane that is to disembowel and lobotomize?
Is it time? Look like it came up. Well, my first 10 pulls should be it, huh? What is this box, huh? Alright, so I guess I just wish. Damn, what is this? Huh? How deep am I going? I guess very deep. Very fucking deep. Got my Chi-Chi. And my level 100 garbage. Got one. Got two. Got three. No earlies today, it seems. I'm gonna start this up now. Just casually getting fucked by gotcha. Nice. Columbina. Do I have enough? Why do I have this? Yeah. Yep, sorry.
A lot of people have reported seeing the wild hunt recently.
Got my Chi-Chi.
Allow me to lend you some moonlight.
Got my motherfucking Chi-Chi. It says give her tenacity. Don't really know what else to do. Got myself a Chi-Chi. Now I just need to spend the rest of the day just farming flowers. Cute. Cute, cute, cute. Go to Chi-Chi. Yeah. Not gonna lie, pretty
Hip.
bored with gotcha. Pretty fucking bored with gotcha. Getting robbed doesn't feel good.
Rev the engines.
Yeah. Yeah. Is this the flowers I'm looking for? Is there even the character that shows you where these things are? Why are their portals so close to each other?
Phew.
be silent.
Defensive mode engage.
Go claw! Surge.
Not to be sniffed at.
Kerplunk! Flash Wayne.
Cleanup sequence initiate.
Observe, be silent, to dust. Goodness, how the world... has changed. Might I ask, when did the custom of placing treasure chests in... You look worried. Relax. It takes more than a little rainfall to extinguish my lamp.
Defensive mode engaged. Accelerating.
Rev the engines! Try and stop me!
Strike a pose!
Many insects have a compulsion to follow the light, and humans are the same. Except we call that light hope. Rev the engines! Exploration and trials? Adventuring is right up my alley. Many insects have a compulsion to follow the light, and humans are the same. Except we call that light hope. Exploration and trials? Adventuring is right up my alley.
This realm is... If you ever had... This realm is... If you ever had...